Hey guys, in this session we're going to be looking at division of a number by 10 and some quick little shortcuts. I would recommend you guys to watch the previous video in the series, which is multiplication of a number by 10. Because if you understand that, basically what we're going to be doing here in this video is the opposite of what we did there. So let's have a look at these couple of these first answers, right? So 80 divided by 10. Now, knowing your times tables, you know that 80 divided by 10 is straight up 8. So you kind of leave that there. Um, and so what I wanted to kind of show here is a couple of little tricks with a divided by 10, right? So I'm going to show a little bit of side working here. So when we actually have 80 divided by 10, we could actually write it like this. And I remember when, what we call it, when I was in, I don't know, was it primary, I think it was, my teacher just basically went, you put 80 divided by 10, and when you have the two zeros, you can kind of like cancel them out. And I was like, why? Why would you do that? You know? What was the point of doing that? And I guess the reason behind that is, you can actually break this down further because you could actually write down 80 divided by 10 as 8 multiplied by 10 divided by 10. And right now you can see that when you have 10 divided by 10, that actually turns out to be 1. And so you get 8 times 1 is just 8. Now look, you don't need to do it this way or the middle of the way. If you know straight away, you can just do it as well. And I'm going to kind of move this a little bit. Let's just give me 1 second here. So I guess the one thing that I wanted to talk about is that, with 80, we know that 80 could be written as, let me just going to put another column here. So I'm going to write that as just 80 for now, right? I'm going to show you a couple of tricks later on. We'll come back to this. So what about 120 divided by 10? That is going to be 12. 77,300 divided by 10 is going to be 730. So let's just see what happens when we actually do 80. Now remember, 80 could be written as 80.0, right? So when we're actually dividing by 10, what's happening is the decimal point is actually moving one spot to the left. So when it moves one spot to the left, you're actually going to get 8.00, but we don't really write that as 8.00. So we just write it as 8. When we have 120, we can write it as 120.0. And once again, because we're dividing by 10, that decimal point is moving one spot to the left, which means we're going to end up with 12.00. But again, we don't write the 0.00. We don't really care about it. So that's just 12. What about 7,300? Same idea, guys. 7,300.0. And what's happening is the decimal point is moving one unit to the left. So our answer is going to be 730.00, but again, we don't write the 0.00. So with that in mind, when we get to 83 divided by 10, what's going to happen? Well, we can write this as 83.0. And because we're dividing by 10, what's happening is the decimal point is moving one unit to the left, which means we're going to get 8.30. But of course, we don't actually write the 0 after the 3, so we're just going to leave it as 8.3. Now, if you do write your answer as 8.30, there's nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely fine. What about 0.4 then? When we have 0.4, and I guess this is where sometimes people get a little bit confused. But again, none of the rules have changed, guys. When you divide by 10, what you're going to do is you're going to move the decimal point one space to the left. So in this case, we're actually looking at 0.04 as the answer. So you could write it as 0.04. And of course, if you watched my multiplication video, you would know that there's nothing wrong in writing this as 0.04 as well. Cool, yeah, so that's pretty much the idea behind it. So when you actually divide any number by 10, you're literally just moving the decimal point one spot to the left. And also think about it like this, right? Sometimes people go, oh, do I move it left or right? So let's say you do 80 divided by 10, right? Not 80, let's go another number. 73 divided by 10. And you're thinking, oh, am I supposed to move this decimal point to the left or right? And you're thinking, oh, I can't remember. Well, think about it like this. There's only two ways you can go about it, right? You either get 7.3 because you moved it to the left, or you're going to get 730 because you moved the decimal point to the right. The problem is when you're dividing any number by a whole number, you're actually going to get a much smaller number. So in this case, 73 is getting divided by 10, and that 10 is a big, it's not, it's bigger than 1. Because it's bigger than 1, you're going to get, when you divide something, it's actually going to, the final answer is going to be smaller. So it's just a quick way to kind of remember that to check your answers. But pretty much that's it for this little video, guys. As always, thank you for watching.